Well, in 1973,
Yes.
Your family became political refugees. There was another 9/11, what's referred to as the other 9/11.
Yes.
And this is
the original 9/11.
The original 9/11. Yeah, it's interesting they call it the other when it happened first. So September 11th, 1973. Where were you? What happened?
It was Teacher's Day. I remember walking to school, and I was 11 years old. I had prepared a gift for my teacher because in Chile, teachers were revered, You made an effort, and it was a celebration of Teacher's Day. I remember going to school, and then all of a sudden you would hear like Hunter jets and tanks, and it was horrific. And then we went into a time that was pretty dark. There was curfews. People were disappearing. It was pretty horrible.
What was life like from ages 0 to 11 before this coup happened? What do you remember about your lifestyle and your family life, your parents?
My parents were really young, okay? And my mother was a creative director of the national publishing company called Kimantu. They had originally both been teachers. My dad spoke English. He was head of sales. We had a pretty nice life because my parents, most of the time, were too busy. We used to get dumped at my grandparents for 3 months in the summer. We loved it. Nothing better than being with your grandparents. We lived in Concepcion. We lived in Santiago. But on the whole, we had a pretty nice, happy life.
You have siblings?
Yes, I have 4 siblings. I have a half-brother and 2 younger brothers and a half-brother, and my sister was the eldest. I'm number 2.
So, and then on 9/11, 1973, there's a coup d'etat, and they take down the president of Chile.
Yes, Allende, which had...
Were your parents fans of Salvador Allende?
Yes, and they were young, and, also people don't... He was the first ever elected socialist president in the world. He was elected. He was not a coup. He was a doctor. And so it was a shock because it's literally like Obama being taken down.
Yeah.
It's just, he was the dream for the new Chile, Well,
when I was researching it, it seems to me that he won the votes in large numbers, overwhelmingly so, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
But the corporations didn't like that because the first thing he did was to nationalize all the industries, all the money that was coming out, which usually happens with countries, when, whether it's the UK or the US go over, the businesses, corporations take over. So they sort of take all the...
So the corporations didn't like this, meaning the American corporations?
Yeah, or whoever. But yeah, I think the CIA orchestrated.
Yeah. So was it understood at the time that the CIA was behind this? Did people in Chile know that the Americans were doing this?
It wasn't really understood 100%, but we knew that it came from the extreme right. And, people with money, and that they didn't want the average person to have access to a lot of stuff, Allende had, given kids milk at school every day, like lunches, all these things, he was a doctor. So, I can't remember that much because I was very young. But my mother got tried for treason.
She got tried for treason?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Apparently because there were photographs with her with all these political people, like fundraisers and things. And because she was head of the creative department and she was lovely and she was young, she's probably at 30, 31. She died when she was 34. So there were pictures of her with all these political figures. So, my father had escaped because they basically shut everything down. We had no money. My dad ended up selling eggs on the street so we could eat from being the head of sales. So everything shut down really quickly. So
they shut down the publishing company that your parents worked at?
Yes.
Why?
Because they were publishing every single book, and they called it propaganda. It was a national publishing company. The textbooks were published there. Anything that they thought was, socialist, extreme left, So they shut it down. Everybody got fired. And then, they started prosecuting people.
So then, how long was Allende in power? I should know this.
Not very long. I think it was like 3 years.
Okay, so he got there by way of a democracy. People voted him in, and then the CIA helps take him down, and they replace that with a dictatorship.
Yes, but don't say that, because I don't think the CIA would admit to that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We're behind a paywall. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. It's like,
this is a small audience, I guess. Well,
it's like they would probably say it's a conspiracy theory. Let's just say that the powers that be did not like...
Well, so CIA, here's the thing. This is the way I'm going to tell it, because when you first mentioned this to me, I didn't know anything about it. And so I was doing all this research, and stuff like this really interests me anyway. And
conspiracy theories, I mean, everybody,
I don't... I guess. I guess one could say I'm conspiracy prone, conspiracy leaning, I suppose. But there's not that many conspiracies. I think the things that are argued conspiracies, I just think that they're true. Like, there's not that many conspiracies that are that wild that I believe personally. Anyway, so I'm looking into all of this. And okay, yeah, sure, maybe you're not supposed to say it was the CIA, but I think everyone knows that America wreaks a lot of havoc on the planet. I don't think that's new news.
No.
And, or Europe, like you said, UK, America, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, my family's from a country that didn't get their independence until 1963. Oh, wow. So it's not like this is new, right?
Yeah.
You got to fight to get them out.
Yeah.
And I guess what surprised me, although it shouldn't surprise me, is this, America, most of the time when we go to war or when we invade other countries, it's because of our noble pursuit of democracy. But in Chile, there was already a democracy, and they helped take that down to replace it with a dictatorship. So, and that person was in power. Pinochet for what, 16 years, was it?
Something like that, yeah. And then he got tried in England for crimes, and then he faked being sick, so they shipped him back to Chile.
And so during that time is, the dark ages for Chile, right? People are going missing. There's, you guys look it up if you want to. I've done my research. I don't even know that camera.
Yes.
Look into it. But,
it's the same in Argentina. A lot of people disappeared. There's, it's sad times, and I think that's a reality. We lived, we were only there. I mean, September the 11th happened, and my dad left in November. And then in January, we left, January 1974, to go to Peru, and we got taken up by the United Nations.
How long were you in Peru?
A year.
Then you went to where?
Then we went to England.
And then you moved to England, right?
But at the time, it was a bit of a lottery. My dad had applied to 3 different countries. First one was Cuba. He wanted to go to Cuba. So I was totally brainwashed that I was going to be a ballet dancer and do farming in Cuba. That's all I knew. And then the other options were Canada and England, because he spoke English. So apparently what happened is they would come from the embassy and say, okay, we have 5 seats to Cuba today on the plane. And they would just grab people, if you're on the list. And the day they came for us, we missed it. We were on the beach because we weren't allowed to go to school. So we went to the beach. And then the next thing that came up was England. So we ended up in England.